Okay, so a lot of major international institutions have come out for Remain, so the IMF, the OECD, Bank of England, the Treasury, and it also turns out that the Remain campaign has been funded by the likes of Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley and JP Morgan. Why do you think it is that these sort of global institutions and investment banks would all be lining up behind Remain?
Whose interests does the European Union really serve? I think we've seen from the very start that the model was one that was created for bureaucrats behind closed doors to manage and govern various sectors of the economy, starting with coal and steel, extending to agriculture, now covering international trade and financial services. And it's not the peoples of Europe that are represented in those rooms when the decisions are getting made, it's the corporations. So it's very unsurprising that we've seen such a unification of the establishment and the status quo around the Remain position. What's more surprising really is that those who maybe aren't to be expected to keep such company are so clearly seeing a Remain vote as the way to go. You see this with the leadership of the Labour Party, which I agree with on almost every other issue. And yet we on the Leave side are told that we are keeping bad company. I think it's about time that they looked at who's standing beside them and what interests a Remain vote is really serving.
Okay, are you concerned about Britain's future outside the EU, or do you think we would actually do quite well?
I think there's no question that there will be transition pains that would result from a decision to leave the European Union. We would probably take some immediate hits, but I think the problems that we face economically, socially, ecologically are now so extreme and are piling up to such a great extent that I think we really need to embrace our own democratic political power to change things and to move in a radical new direction that really starts to deliver on the values that ordinary hard-working people express in poll after poll. The fear-mongering only goes so far. At some point, I think we're going to see people recognizing that they're being sold a bill of goods with Project Fear and understanding that actually there is life outside the EU. Norway manages it, Switzerland manages it, most countries manage life outside the EU without descending into cataclysm, war and fascism. So there's very little reason to worry about the medium to long term, I think. In fact, just think of the tremendous energy that it will unleash if we actually do break with this set of constraints that bind our policy and undermine our democratic will. The ability to start thinking about how we might refashion our own institutions in a much more democratic way. This is the sort of outer line of defense for the current set of arrangements, and once it's breached, it opens up, I think, a lot of questions about how we wish to govern ourselves in relation to our neighbors, but also in relation to who really owns and controls the economy, who holds power in the country. I'm very optimistic about the forces that will be unleashed, actually, after an initial, probably difficult period by a Leave vote in the medium term.